Good morning to all the listeners in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petimatic, and the diaspora, members of the media, other members of the head table, and citizens anywhere. Thank you for joining us today as we provide an update on two important national initiatives: the preparation of the 2026 budget and the launch of Grenada's first household bond program. I will start with the 2026 budget. I am pleased to report that preparations for the presentation of the 2026 budget by the end of this year are well on its way. The process started in earnest in July with the launch of an online portal on the Ministry of Finance website, that's www.finance.gd, to receive input from social partners and other key stakeholders. This medium is still available for input, and we encourage citizens to take advantage of the consultation process if you have not done so yet. Cabinet has approved the medium-term fiscal framework, that's the MTFF, following written feedback from the Fiscal Resilience Oversight Committee, FROC. The MTFF outlines government fiscal strategy and guidelines and guides already preparation of the upcoming budget and projection for the next 2 years forward. This document will be published by the end of September 2025. The annual budget retreat, which brings together policymakers and senior public sector officials, was held in August 6, 2025. This was followed by the issuance of the budget's call circular to the ministries and departments, inviting them to submit their draft estimate by last Friday. Our parish court consultations have recently concluded. These sessions allowed us to hear directly from citizens across Grenada, and I must say that I should thank you for those of you who came out to the consultations or tuned in online. Your concerns, your ideas, and your aspirations are well received and have helped us shape our priorities going forward. We are now in the final stages of our consultation. On September 30th, we will engage with stakeholders in agriculture, fisheries, the blue economy at Mellows Complex in St. Andrews starting at 2 p.m. Then on October 1st at 4 p.m. at the Grenada Trade Center, we will meet with your youth because their voices are vital to shaping a future-ready economy. Let me extend my gratitude to Mrs. Tonia Adam Samuel and her team at the Macroeconomic Policy Unit, Mr. Justin Hazard and his team at the Budget Unit, the Corporate Communication team at the Ministry of Finance, as well as the teams from MIT and Carriacou and Petimatic Affairs who helped in putting the consultation together in Carriacou. Thank you for your continued support and partnership in terms of the next steps. The Ministry of Finance team will review the draft submission from the Ministry and Department in preparation for a review meeting of the Senior Management's Board. Cabinet will review the draft budget by the end of October, and we expect that the draft to go before the Finance Committee by the middle of November. This will allow us to present the budget on December 1st, 2025. I repeat, this will allow us to present the budget on December 1st, 2025. The Houses of Parliament will begin to debate the budget on December 3rd with the lower house and complete debates by December 10th with the Senate. I will now turn to the second important initiative. It is the launch of Grenada's first household bond initiative. Across the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, October is considered or recognized as Financial Information Month. This year, Grenada is collaborating with the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank and key stakeholders in piloting an important new initiative, the household bond. We are one of two pilots, St. Kitts and Nevis being the other one. The Cabinet of Grenada has already approved the terms of the Grenada's household bond, and today's briefing represents a soft launch. We propose to do a joint launch comprising of two pilots and the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank in early October. Why is this initiative important? As a caring and visionary government, we recognize the need for financial literacy among Grenadians. Our government also recognizes that it's not enough to simply tell people that they must save. We must give them the tools and, more importantly, the opportunities to develop financial literacy and learn different methods to create and grow their wealth. In other words, financial literacy is not just a buzzword, rather a pathway to empowerment and transformation. As it stands today, only 1 in 25 citizens in our sub-region invest on the Regional Securities Market, RGSM, or the Eastern Caribbean Stock Exchange, ECSC. There's also very little secondary market activities, that is trading among investors, which would help deepen our financial market. Many of our citizens have savings accounts, but very few have investment plans. Many do not have or know how to invest or where to begin. For those who do not know, because of costs involved and the requirements to begin, many simply cannot access investment opportunities. This visionary initiative serves as a gateway for individuals to increase their financial literacy. It is designed specifically for individual investors across Grenada and the rest of the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. When I say individual investors, I want to ensure that everyone understands that we are not talking about institutions such like the banks, the credit unions, the insurance companies, national insurance, and other pension funds or businesses who are referred to as institutional investors. I am talking about giving regular citizens and family the opportunity to learn about investing, wealth creation, and wealth management through real-world experience that gives actual returns. The issue amount of the bond is $5 million EC dollars. That is important because government would raise from providing this investment opportunity a drop in the bucket, really, as the main objective is not to raise financing for government, but empower households to take the first steps into the world of investing and wealth creation. In other words, this is more than just a financial product. It's a statement of confidence in our people, our economy, and our shared future. We encourage all Grenadians, especially first-time investors, to seize the opportunity to grow your savings and become even more active participants in the economic transformation of our country and the ECC region. I will now invite the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Finance, Mr. Mike Sylvester, to share further details on this investment opportunity. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Cornwall. And of course, I want to also recognize the persons in the audience and the viewing and listening public, and to just further elaborate on the household bond as indicated by the Minister. The issuer for the household bond is the government of Grenada, and that is very important. In the sense that the bond itself is backed by the consolidated fund. So it's backed by the government of Grenada, and the principal repayment amount as well as the interest will be paid out of the consolidated fund. And so that is very important in terms of the security of the bond, in terms of the issues around the person who is actually, or the authority behind the bond, the backing behind the bond. The issue amount, as the Minister mentioned, is $5 million, and as he indicated, this is really a drop in the bucket. It is not really to raise revenues or raise financing for the government, but essentially to allow citizens, empower citizens to begin the journey into investing and being able to actually build investors and build wealth across the sub-region. So very, very important. Cabinet approved the terms of the bond. So the issue amount, as I mentioned, $5 million. The interest rate, 4.25% per annum. And so that is a fixed rate. So it's not a rate that will vary based on the demand for the instrument. So usually how the RGSM operates is that there will be what you call a rate that is published and persons will bid for that instrument. If the bids are more than basically what you're looking for, that could drive the interest rate down. This is not the case in this particular household bond, as the rate is fixed. So once you invest in the bond, you are entitled to 4.25% per annum. All right. The tenure of the bond, or the length of the bond, is a 2-year period, a 2-year bond. So again, the bond is 2 years, and it will begin from the issue date, and it will run for a period of 2 years. And I'll explain a little bit more what that means in terms of the issue date and so on. So we've talked about the issue amount, we've talked about the interest rate, we talked about the tenure of the bond. So those are the terms of the bond, right? In terms of the payment amount, so the bond will be paid semi-annually. So once you invest, you will receive payments twice per year, and based on the issue date that will be announced, I'm going to announce shortly, sorry. The payments will be on the 24th of November, or the 24th of May 2026, and then the 24th of November for the 2-year period. Right? So basically that's the repayment, semi-annual repayment period for the bond. In terms of the settlement period, or what we call the subscription period, sorry. This is a period where persons will begin to bid for the bond. And again, it's a first come, first served basis. So if the amount is actually reached and you bid, then you have a chance that you will not get through, right? And so it's important that you basically try to bid as early as possible. And that period opens up on the 31st of October, and it will extend to the 21st of November. So that is the subscription period within which you have to, or you're required to engage a broker to place a bid for a portion of the $5 million. In terms of the brokers, there are basically around 6 brokers operating in the sub-region. Our own Grenada Cooperative Bank is our local broker here. So if that's an option for you, then you can use that option. You have the St. Kitts Nevis Anguilla National Bank. That's another option. You have the Bank of Nevis Limited. That's another option. You have the Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadians as another option. The Bank of St. Lucia, another option, and the First Citizen Investment Services as another broker within the region operating out of St. Lucia that you can also use as your broker. So you have to choose a broker, and of course they will place your bid. After this launch, soft launch, we are going to put on our website, at the Ministry of Finance website, www.finance.gd, registration form, a pre-registration form, where we're asking you to provide your basic details, so your name, your contact information. We're also asking you to provide your indicative amount in terms of what you want to bid, and the broker that you want to use. Right now, there are fees related to the use of a broker and the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange, and so we'll talk about that in a short while. But once you are interested, you go fill out the form, submit the information. We have a pre-registration period. The brokers will contact you, and of course, then you can make your bid. One of the challenges that we have in the region with respect to the whole issue of individual investors or individual participation on the regional government securities market or the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange is that there is a minimum threshold of $5,000 that you have to have at least to enter. The governments have agreed to reduce that threshold to $500. So the minimum bid now is $500, right? So if you have $500, you can be an investor in this household bond, and the incremental bid is $100. So if you have $500, you can bid, or you want to bid $600 or $700, up to a maximum of $50,000. That's the maximum bid, and so that will allow as many persons as possible to be able to participate in the bid. And again, I want to repeat, it's a first come, first basis. So if you wait too late, then you may miss the opportunity of being able to participate in the instrument. So basically, you have, as I said, the broker. You have to go through the broker. We are working with the AML Commission and so on to reduce the due diligence requirement for investors, especially those investors below $5,000 a month. So if you are investing below 5,000, then you basically be required to, instead of, for example, issuing or requiring 2 IDs to be able to onboard you with an investment account, we are working to, as the ECCB has been doing, to have you do similar to what you had as a basic bank account. So basically presenting one government issued ID as opposed to 2 IDs and other strict requirements. We are also working with the brokers with respect to the fees and the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange, so that persons investing under $5,000 will also face reduced fees and so on. And so those are things that we will come back to you during the official launch of the household bond. But what we're asking at this particular point is that you indicate your interest. We are going to post the prospectus on the Ministry of Finance website as well, and the prospectus will tell you, basically provide information in terms of government finances, in terms of some of the information that I mentioned here, in terms of the terms of the bond and how when the bonds will be paid, those kind of, who are the brokers and so on, and that kind of information. So again, I just want to reiterate, it's an exciting investment opportunity, as the Minister indicated. It is meant for households, so it's not for institutional investors. It's not for the credit unions and the banks and so on. It's for ordinary folks, ordinary families and so on, to be able to start that investment journey, and in a very safe and secure investment. As I said, it is backed by the government of Grenada, backed by the consolidated fund. So there are no issues there with respect to persons not being able to get the monies and so on and so forth. And then more importantly, it's really not for government to raise revenues or raise financing. This is, as Minister mentioned, an opportunity for empowering people and so on. So I want to stop here, and back to you, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, P.S. Sylvester. A special thank you to Minister Cornwall. Thank you so much for the presentations. As mentioned, exciting opportunities for Grenadians as we get set for Financial Information Month. So as little as $500 gets you into the door, and I think you'll be able to start calling yourself an investor. At this juncture, we want to open the floor for questions from the media. We have a few media houses in the room. Thank you so much for joining us. Some of you have chosen to join us online. Again, thank you for being here. We'll open the floor for questions. 2 things I'd like us to be mindful of as we do so. While there won't be a restriction per se on the number of questions per media house, it is exciting, so I suspect you'll have quite a few questions. We do want you to be mindful of your other colleagues, so we don't want to monopolize the conversation, and we do want to keep our questions focused on the topics at hand for this morning. I believe we have a question from GBN. GBN, go ahead.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. I have a question, and that is for the normal person who doesn't know what a bond is, and I want maybe Mr. Sylvester, can you explain to them what is this bond? What is this household bond? Because you said a lot, but a lot of people can be confused who have no idea how beneficial this can be for them. So can you lay down in a simpler terms for them, and how is it important?
Thank you very much for the question. So a bond so government usually raise revenues through different, or financing through different mechanisms, what is referred to as debt securities. I know that again it's a big word or a big term. But essentially, you have treasury bills, and I'm sure you've heard that term. You would hear the U.S. Treasury bills or the U.S. Treasury. You hear the U.S. bond market. So basically, some of those same same references I'm making here. So it's really a way that governments use to raise financing. With the treasury bills, these are short-term instruments. So a treasury bill could start at 30 days. Treasury bill, it starts at 90 days. You could have 100 up to 365 a year, up to a 180-day treasury bill. Right now, with a treasury bill, you basically put up your monies. You guaranteed. If you do it on the market, there is a interest rate that is attracted to the investment. They pay you the interest rate, and then you basically at the end of the maturity they give you back your money. So in other words, it's like a loan, right? Or you buying, if you want to call it, government securities, or you investing in government, or you investing in a financial product. It's different from savings where you put your money in the bank, and the bank is required to pay you interest on your savings, right? So that's a way of saving. But in terms of investing, you basically buying into what is called a debt securities. Now, with respect to the tenure, and that's the term of these things, the longer you go, or the longer the tenure, the term of the instrument changes. So you have, you may have things like treasury notes or treasury bonds, or you have bonds, right? So usually instruments 2 years to 10 years, those are usually referred to as bonds. And so it's as I say, opportunity for the government to raise money. And the government, if you look at our prospectus on the regional government securities market, you will see the government have 15 million, 25 million, 30 million treasury bills and bonds, right? But this is just a $5 million instrument because of the purpose that it is for. As was indicated earlier, it's really not to raise financing, but to give citizens an opportunity to begin their investment process. Now, you've had a lot of other type of investment where people ask you to buy certain product, and when you buy it, it turns out to be a Ponzi scheme, or it turns out to be some kind of other arrangement. This is backed by the government, it's backed by the consolidated fund. So this is a very safe, secure investment. I hope I was able to clarify what the bond is in simpler terms. But it's really a debt security. It's really an opportunity for people to invest in the country, invest in government. I'm sure you probably heard about the airport bonds when they were building the airport, that persons were offered the opportunity to buy bonds, or just whether it's a $5 bond or whatever the case may be, as an opportunity to invest. But and then persons are up to this point, sometimes they're coming forward and basically redeeming those bonds, where you have to give them back the principal and the interest that the bond offered at a particular point in time. Yeah?
So I'll add in layman terms what we are trying to do with this household bonds is to give the population a chance to be able to buy into an instrument that is going to be issued on the St. Caribbean Stock Exchange. So rather than putting your monies in the bank in the form of savings and getting 2% interest on it, we are affording you the opportunity to buy into that investment instrument on the St. Caribbean Stock Exchange, specifically designed to encourage Grenadians and other persons in the OECS to participate on the stock exchange, participate in the bond market, so that at some point in time, you would have other alternatives where you can put your money and get a safe return on it. I think that's the easiest way I can explain that to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Minister Cornwall.
And just to clarify, this is not just for Grenadians. The other countries like St. Kitts as well, residents from there, citizens from there are a part of this whole aspect.
Yes, we are doing what is called a pilot for this program now, in conjunction with St. Kitts and Nevis, under the auspices of the St. Caribbean Securities Exchange or Stock Exchange. And so the same information that we are giving you here in Grenada, it will be also given in St. Kitts at this point in time. The bigger intention or the wider objective is to basically have every persons in the OECS who can manage the monies, to be able to place the monies in such an instrument. And as time goes by, we'll basically broaden the scope, broaden the amounts, and so on. So once this has been proved to be successful, in other words, we have debugged all the issues that probably we need to basically make sure the common man understands what they're getting involved in, we'd open it up to the wider ECCU arrangement.
Okay, final question. It's relating to the bidding process. Does this mean that everybody would not get through when it comes to purchasing the bond because it's a bidding process?
Yes, so that is correct. So it's based on the amount, the issue amount, and as we mentioned, the issue amount is $5 million, and it is open to all the 8 participating countries of the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. So someone in St. Vincent, someone in St. Lucia, someone in Montserrat, and Anguilla, and so on, they can also buy into the bond. And so it's a first come first served basis. So if you place a bid and we have already secured the $5 million, then you would not be eligible for this particular one. But as Minister said, this is something that the other countries will be doing as well as we go along. St. Kitts will also have a same issue on the same day. That's the 31st. That's open up for participation, and so you can invest in St. Kitts as an option. Yeah. And so that's how it will work for now. But beyond that, it's an opportunity for the government or people to participate in a bigger way. So you may down the road it could go up to 10 million, and you may then once you're comfortable and satisfied and understand how this thing works, because it's part of Financial Information Month as well. So you understanding how the bond works. When we say semi-annual payment, what it means. The monies will be, you'll become part of the bond registry. Once the information is there, then they will send the money to your account. You'll get a statement from the Eastern Caribbean Stock Exchange. So you basically understand all of these things and become aware and familiar and comfortable. Then of course you can become the Bill Gates and some of the bigger investors that we have around the place. Yeah.
I also want to say that the Eastern Caribbean Securities, I think 2002, but most of the transaction taking place on the stock exchange relates to shares in companies, as well as treasury bills and bonds, which were taken up most likely by the financial institutions and institutions that have been regularly participating. We saw 1 or 2 of the individuals, households, taking part in those, but these are people who have high income and so on and able to basically participate. So now we are saying that what we want to do is to basically increase the amount of persons that can participate on the Eastern Caribbean Stock Exchange, including the minor savers, those who have significant savings in the bank accounts and not getting much interest on it. We are going to give you that opportunity to do that. So no longer will you be competing directly with the financial institutions or the ANIS or the insurance companies. We allow you a segment of the market where you can dedicatedly basically make your investment and benefit from the initiative on the stock exchange. However, as Mr. Sylvester said, this bond is a $5 million bond. First come, first serve. So if you are interested, you need to basically get your things in place and ensure that you get on board as early as possible. Because once the threshold is met, it's shut down and so on. And so for you to be part of it, you have to be off the mark very early o'clock.
Maybe I just have to note that as well. There is the option to, in every treasury or bond or bill that we issue, where you can have the option, you can include in the prospectus the option to take more up to a certain amount, right? But that is something that you have to spell out in the prospectus. Now, again, you don't want to do that in the context of something that you're introducing for the first time, unless you have the feel as to people's interest and participation and so on, understanding of how these things work, right? So we believe with time and people being motivated by the first issue and so on, or by the fact that the first one was in fact successful, then of course we can perhaps use that option. But we'll see how it goes. I think what we will be guided by is through the pre-registration. So the pre-registration basically asks you for your contact information and basically the amount you're interested in investing, and so we'll be able to gauge whether we want to put that option in the prospectus to perhaps increase it by $1 million or so. But that is at this point it's we would not want to make that indication. Yeah.
All right, thank you so very much, P.S. Sylvester and Minister Cornwall. Thank you, GBN, for your questions. Our next question comes from Linda Straker. Go ahead, Ms. Straker.
Good morning to you and everyone at the head table. My question is a follow-up to what Mr. Sylvester was saying. As a matter of fact, the question I had was to find out whether or not the government was going to issue a separate prospectus for that bond, because the bond that the securities that are sold in that prospectus has already been issued. What he did answer, so he can still let us know if a separate prospectus will be issued during or before the pre-registration date. Now, with regard to the pre-registration date, why government want people to pre-register for this bond? Because the other bonds that are issued, you generally don't pre-register. Although I know it is for people with more money. Why government see the need for persons to pre-register so that then you can be contacted?
I think you answered your question in asking it. This is a pilot, as you're probably aware. And it is ready to build financial literacy. It is being launched as part of Financial Information Month, right? If you were to do a poll in the room, I don't know how many persons in here, for example, have invested or are investors in whatever form or fashion, whether it's through a fixed deposit or whether it's through some account on the U.S. stock exchange or whatever other mechanism, right? So it's really an opportunity to test the market within the ECCU to first of all see the level of interest there, as well as to see what level of financial information, financial literacy, and so on you need to be involved in terms of the marketing information for this thing. So that's the reason why the pre-registration is important. And again, you have to understand, with a regular treasury bill or regular bond, right? $25 million, you may have five investors, right? 2 banks and a credit union and a national insurance company and so on, and that's it, right? We have here a situation where the minimum bid is $500, and so that means you have more investors that you have to process, yeah, before you can actually, and that's why, for example, the subscription period is longer, because usually with regular T-bills and bonds and so on, it's really T+1. So basically today is the subscription period and tomorrow is the settlement date, right? So in this particular case, we have a 3-week period for the brokers and so on to process all of these claims, because we expect numerous claims as well, and the pre-registration will help them to be able to collect all your information, because all these persons would have to be onboarded. So for example, if you want to be part of the RGSM or the Eastern Caribbean Stock Exchange, you have to register as if you open a bank account. You have to bring in your IDs, you have to give your information and so on. That will take some time, and so that's part of the process why we are asking persons to pre-register and sort of indicate as well what their investment sum.
I think
so let me just clarify. When I pre-register, if I do not receive a call back or contact thereafter, does that mean I'm automatically would not be able to purchase the bond? Would a call back determine my next step? So if I'm never contacted, that means that I will not be able to purchase.
Once you pre-register, your name would be entered in a database that allows you to participate in the bond. However, as we have actually explained earlier on, it would be on a first-come, first-served basis. So if you wait until it's 99 hours to basically place your bid, and we already achieved, let's say, the $5 million that we are looking for, you may or may not be able to get on board. So one of the key things that we have to bear in mind is that the registration would allow us to kind of get a prelude of what the demand for the instrument is. But it also allows you to be having a spot in the uptake. But if you apply for it very late, you may or may not get because of the amount that is being issued.
So suppose what you have to be onboarded, and you have to be onboarded through a broker, right? And I've gone through the 6 brokers operating in the sub-region, right? Now the information that is being asked in the pre-registration is basic information, so that the brokers will, because the government is not the one that's onboarding you. The government is not the one that's registering you. It's the brokers, right? And so you need to provide them with the relevant information to onboard you. So just for an example, just by way of example, if I'm a registered investor on the exchange, right? I can participate in any investment that comes up, whether it's not a debt security, whether it's equity security or whether it's a debt security, whether it's on a government security in the RGSM. I could participate in that until Thy Kingdom come, because I am registered on the RGSM, and that is what this opportunity offers you. So if you're not there as yet, you need to get there, and that's what the pre-registration will help you to be able to do. But it's not the end all, because what I'm saying, the brokers will have to contact you, and then of course get some additional information from you in terms of onboarding you. So that is part of the process as well. So it's not just giving us an indicative amount as to what the market feel for this thing is, but as well as to give the broker the opportunity to contact you, because you will go and say, oh, I want to work with Cooperative Bank, or I want to work with First Citizen Investment Services Limited, and then they will contact you and walk you through the process in terms of your registration. Yeah, I hope that is clear.
Yeah. Thanks for that. But my follow-up question is, please explain the interest payment. You said it is 4.25%, and payment will be done in May and November of each year. Yeah. Would each payment be 4.25, or they would be broken down into half portions to cover the year?
Right. No, it's half portion, so it's 4.25 per annum. So you basically, so basically you would get the 4.25 per annum divided by 2. Right.
Thank you for that explanation, because I am aware that somebody was actually sending me a message thinking quite differently, because it was something I've been encouraging others to invest in. My final question for now has to do with the budget presentation to the minister. Could the minister tell us whether or not government would decide to revoke the suspension clause for the following the presentation of the 2026 budget, please?
The answer to that is no. We have said before that Grenada needs to give itself sufficient time to rebuild the economy of Grenada after the passage of Hurricane Beryl. We have actually suspended the Fiscal Resilience Act to allow us to do that, to give us the room to be able to do that. And as we speak, we are not there as yet in terms of the total rehabilitation or restoration of Grenada's economy following the passage of Hurricane Beryl. And therefore, I would say to you, up until now, we probably have to go into 2027 before we can decide whether or not we're going to reinstate that. So for now, the answer is no.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Straker. We have a few questions from the audience in the room. Okay, it seems that things have been very clear this morning. I see some people tapping their pockets, so perhaps they'll be heading to the bank after this. Do we have any further questions from our online participants? If no further questions.
Yes, I do have. I was hoping one of my other colleagues will ask follow-up questions. Mr. Sylvester we said that the money for that is not going to raise for, his exact was not for government to raise money. So the money that will be raised from that retail bond, what is government intention to do with it? Are they going to rest it in an account where it builds its own interest? What is government going to do with the money that it will gain after people do the bond investment?
Well, let me answer the question. The main objective of this pilot household bond is not really for government to be raising finances for any particular project. We said we are going to do the pilot specifically to encourage households, individuals, to be able to get the knowledge and the sense of how to get involved on a stock market and so on. Rather than leaving your monies in an account and earning 2% interest, we are going to give you that opportunity, open up the market so that many more persons can be part of it. Yes, ultimately the monies that we get from bond will be part of the government's revenue, but it will not be solely because of we want that money. We want to give you that opportunity to basically participate in the stock market. So yes, government will receive the monies, but as a secondary objective rather than the primary objective.
Excellent.
Thank you. And can the PS clear or provide for us the instruction to pre-register, please?
Sorry, can I provide the instructions pre-register?
Yeah, the instructions
Right.
to
So
registration.
basically, on our website, there will be a link, a pop-up that you click, and the information is there. There are some required information, and so you just basically fill in those bits and pieces of information, and click submit. It's as simple as that. Yeah. So
is it already there, or when it will be when that pop-up will be there?
Russell, you want to just?
So the portal to register should be going on live by the end of the day today. We're making some final touches to the back-end mechanisms, and that should be online by the end of the day today. For those of you joining us online, those of you listening on, our social media and our website will contain as much information as possible, so go ahead and follow us on Finance Grenada on Facebook as well as Instagram. We're also on LinkedIn, and of course the Ministry of Finance website is www.finance.gd. As we mentioned, social media, I do have a question from social media that I just want to take before we go back to our media houses. And so the question is, can the members of the diaspora participate?
Right. Great question. So the eligibility criteria, you have to be a citizen and you have to be a resident of the ECCU. Yeah? So if you're in the diaspora and you're a citizen of any one of the 8 ECCU countries, member territories, you can participate. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I believe we have a follow-up question from GBN.
Yes, I do have a follow-up question. Can you inform us of the available brokers?
Can you?
Inform us of some of the available brokers.
Right. So, as I mentioned during the presentation, we have our 6 brokers in ECCU sub-region. So we have our own Grenada Cooperative Bank, Grenada Cooperative Bank Limited, just to be technically correct. So they are the brokers operating here in Grenada. We have the St. Kitts, Nevis, Anguilla National Bank. So that's another bank. We have the Bank of Nevis Limited as another broker. We have the Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadians Limited. That's another broker in St. Vincent. We have the Bank of St. Lucia. That's another broker. And finally, we have the First Citizens Investment Services Limited. Usually, we refer to it as fixed, not fixed, but something. But they operate out of St. Lucia. They're not a bank. They're a brokerage firm. And we operate, I mean, we've used them many times in the past to issue our regular treasury bills and bonds and so on. Yeah, but that information is part of the form, so you will see the names there. Just important for me to just mention as well that in terms of the fees, and I will speak to the fees above 5,000 or 5,000 and above. The different brokers they charge different fees. Yeah, so that is something that you would need to we will provide, or you can, and when you engage the brokers, you can find out that information. But what we want to do is to just basically summarize the fees, so that you can then make a determination who you want to invest with. With the fees under 5,000, we are in discussions with the brokers and the stock exchange with respect to reducing those fees, because we want to make sure that someone who is investing $500, for example, that the investment makes sense. Now, and that is something that we need to continue to look at as we go forward, because our thinking and hope is that small investors will become big investors, right? So over time, you invest and you participate and you grow your portfolio and you understand how the market works and so on. You will, whether if you started with 500, next time you probably will go with a 10,000 or 15,000 and so on. So the fees then, in the scheme of things, becomes a non-issue. Right, so that is the understanding. But for the pilot, we are working with the brokers and the stock exchange to sort of see how we can reduce the fees for persons investing under 5,000. Of course, the minimum, as I mentioned, is $500.
Thank you.
Mr. Sylvester, you kind of answered my next question, because my concern was it's a household bond, which means that no businesses or anything would have the opportunity to do so, if I stand to be corrected. But how much Grenadians can really afford? Because $500, based on my calculation, is about $20 after the 2 years, 20-something dollars. So how is that? I mean, how would this encourage them?
Right. So, well, if you put $500 in the bank and you get, I'm not knocking the bank, so I don't want this to be taken differently. If you put $500 in the bank and you say that there's a guaranteed minimum savings rate of 2%, and then you pay 10 or 15 or 20 or $30 in fees, then if you do the math for yourself, you'll see that it makes even more sense to invest it in the government bond. Yeah, but very good question. I think what we're trying to do as well is, I said, to make it make sense by especially for those small investors. Because if you're investing, say $10,000 or $5,000, for example, your annual return is what $214 thereabout, and your fees in the regular scheme of things would be minuscule. You're talking about around $20-some, $30. Yeah. So that makes a lot more sense than putting that same $10,000, $5,000 in the bank and getting, I don't want to say 2%, because of course you have to look at that within the context of fees that you pay to use the bank services and so on, right?
Let's have a question in the room. MTV, Troy Gill.
Right, Troy Gill, MTV News. Just one quick question as a follow-up to Rena's question. Does this mean that there is a threshold per family, or is it a situation where you have one representative per family, which means if there's a threshold, meaning that more than one person can actually invest?
But to begin with, there is no restriction on how many persons in the household can invest. One of the conditions that you have to have is that you have to have the resources to basically place the investment. So if you have no money, then you can't place an investment. But if you have 10 persons in the house that has monies in their account and they want to make that investment, there is nothing that precludes them from doing that.
And then you can sign up as a joint account. So you can have how many persons actually on one account, and that account being the investment account. Or you can, if you say, as Minister said, if you have 5 people in the household, you can have 5 individual investor participating in the household bond.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your continued questions. I just got an update from our technician, so good news, everyone. The portal is live and ready to go. I'm hoping we don't crash the site of the number of people that are going to try to pre-register, but by all means, www.finance.gd, and we are ready to take your pre-registrations for the household bond. We'll continue with our questions at this juncture. If there's any more clarifications that are needed, feel free to let us know, and we'll continue taking our questions. For those of you, again, who are just joining us, information will be posted to our Facebook page. That's Finance Grenada on Facebook, on Instagram, as well as LinkedIn. We can also be accessed via www.finance.gd. That's where our pre-registration form is going to be. That's where it is right now. So go on to finance.gd and go ahead and begin pre-registration. If there are no more questions from our media.
Can the registration date, the closure, can it be extended? Because it's a bit short times. It's really short.
So which registration date?
Said it closes on October 5th, right?
No. So the subscription period is from October 31st to November 21st. So you have 3 weeks. That's when all the bids and so on will be placed. But the pre-registration will go from now until the 31st, right? Yeah.
All right. Thank you for clarifying that. So I had the date wrong.
Afternoon, not afternoon, but hello again, it's me. Mr. John, I think, yes, Mr. John. Technician, look at the submission form as you're speaking. I went and checked it out and it is stuck. So I don't know if that's a sign that it is already crashed.
It's a sign that quite a few people are trying to access at the same time. So
I tried pulling it out, and when it reached how much you want.
I do suspect we're getting quite a few hits as the conference goes on. We will, of course, continue to work out any kinks that we encounter, and as P.S. Sylvester just mentioned, it will be open all the way up onto October 31st. Which is the official launch date for the bond. The period for purchasing will stay open for 2 weeks, correct, PS? October 31st to the
21st of November.
That's 14th of November.
21st.
All right, and we encourage all of our citizens to participate in this opportunity. Even if you are unaware, you're unfamiliar, this is a good, safe way to get into the investment market. At this juncture, I just want to give Minister Cornwall, P.S. Sylvester, an opportunity to make any final comments before we close off.
Yes, so